let's look at the paper that was launched by Nakamoto. It really is the one that started it all. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Here is a great summary. I use Investopedia on a regular basis for some research on it. I find the data in there to be fabulous. I recommend it possibly. This really what you're going to see in this presentation. Most of the material was taken from a paper written out and published in Investopedia by Joe Liebkind. I recommend him as an author. I think he knows his stuff extremely well. Satoshi Nakamoto, as I already mentioned, is a mythical figure that hides his, her, or their identity. Nobody knows why, but it's probably because of the fact the original founders of the internet money somebody tried to put them in jail. That could be a reason. It sure seems like it'd be an incentive to me, but they're certainly billionaires. But probably this paper, when we're going to break it down into 12 different segments, that'll help us get through it. It's technical. If you want to take a shot at reading it, there's plenty of copies on the internet. Just go click on the link. You'll be able to see the actual paper. I think it's worthwhile taking a look at it. There's some technical language in it that is difficult if you are not comfortable with computer language. There's some different specific items in it when you research it. But probably the biggest thing in part one, it talks about the third person authority figures that are used to ensure services are paid to the right person. We call them third parties or intermediaries, and they're like banks and payment processors. You'll see sometimes, what do you do with PayPal? PayPal was a brilliant thing, but PayPal is a third party, like a referee. So instead of you paying some strange company that you don't know far overseas, some French company you never heard of, you don't have any ability to trust them, you trust PayPal. So PayPal acts as an intermediary, and so you pay PayPal, PayPal pays that person, you pay a fee to PayPal. It is pretty much exactly the same thing. We talk about a third party or an intermediary. Well, the merchants can't be sure to always be paid for services, so they're worried. So everybody's worried about it. So really, the paper in the first section addresses that aspect of that third party authority figure. And then on top of that, banks sometimes, because of the fact they want to make certain that the payment size is profitable so they can make their money, okay, they want to make certain they get a big fee out of it. And if you want to do a teeny tiny transaction, well, okay, that's nice for you, but I'm a bank and I'm too big to be dealt with you little people out there. And that's true. Okay, so sending small amounts of cash to family and friends online isn't possible without several middlemen, exchange fees, service charges, and barriers. And they put so many different bizarre things in. You have to be a lawyer to be able to read the document. And even that was written by other lawyers. So you don't know what that lawyer said or what interpretation, what state they're in, yada, yada, yada. So people turn to a thing called Venmo. Oh, Venmo's doing the job. Why is it Venmo can do it and your local bank who's known you for 20 years, they can't do it? Geez, seems like there's a problem. So really, this paper really addresses that. In section 2 out of the 9 sections, really, Satoshi describes the basic components to sustain it, building it on blockchains. The aspect of having a mass consensus that have digital signatures recorded. Now, the digital signatures, when they're recorded on that, really what happens is it fills up a block. And when that block is full, that block is then glued into a whole chain of other blocks already pre-built. Now, then on top of that, once that block is out there, you can't do another transaction for several minutes until that transaction is verified. Once it's verified, boom, it is glued in place, and then other transactions keep on piling on top of it. So you have this long series of transactions in a chain fashion, all built upon numerous blocks, and that's where the term blockchain comes in. So it's like a domino-like change of different dependencies. A lot of times Bitcoin is depicted like this, even though there really is no true physical Bitcoin, you have people making up pictures of it. So, but really, a Bitcoin really is nothing more than code, computer code, and it's a chain of digital signatures. That's exactly what it is. So we have an image of Bitcoin in our heads because we'd like to have things tangible. I don't know about you, trying to memorize 70 lines of computer text. I'm not interested in doing that today, maybe after 3 cups of coffee. So anyhow, Bitcoin, what it does by signing it has a unique hash that appears in the blockchain, and it's only possible if another peer has sent it to you. So you do this transaction, it creates what they call a hash, and the hash is what you actually exchange between the two, and that's how you can exchange money or Bitcoin on the blockchain. So It verifies all the signatures. You add your own at the end. It's not your name. It's your computer code signature, which has numerous characters in it, and it's forever written in stone by all the Bitcoin's participants from then on. They can see it. It's transparent. Now, the aspect of the code. Now, when I talk about name, your name is on it. It's not your name, like Herbie Joe. Okay, no, that's not the name. Okay, it's going to have a Bitcoin address on it, which is your specific signature. The aspect of double spending, we have another section that'll describe that, but the double spending issue, but that really is a prohibition of really having bad actors, of them trying to do the same transaction at the same time with somebody else trying to cheat the system. It can't be done with this if it's set up properly. There's a timestamp server on it that puts an actual time there as part of the ledger. Whenever you record a transaction in Bitcoin, it goes into a ledger, a digital ledger, which is part of the blockchain. And really, that transaction log is type of a timestamp server. All of a sudden, here is the transaction that occurred on this time and at this exact moment and this seconds and so on. And you have a microsecond server that actually sits there and it stamps that transaction specifically and uses that as part of building the block that's going to be adhered to the blockchain. So all the people that are out there at that time on the blockchain, they all verify this transaction has now occurred. And you have thousands of nodes clicking all at one time, verifying this transaction. And as soon as they finish their verification process, boom, it is glued onto the blockchain. It's possible to record hashes to be timestamped on the same sheet that every other trader is using. Okay, but the new timestamp includes the previous one. So you have this whole chain of verifiable events, all in timestamp order in the blockchain that have specific blocks occurring at specific times. So that way it's not duplicated and you don't have the double aspect of it, the double of the check problem because of the fact of what we call the Byzantine general issue. Proof of work is the core of what really is actual Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first generation of cryptocurrency. The second generation of cryptocurrency started out with proof of work like Bitcoin, but it shifted more into really proof of stake. So we'll talk about that at a later point. But with that, by having a block, we call it the SHA 256 hash, it appears they use the computational power, they match the hash that generates a new addition to the ledger. So that way you keep on having hashes. You have the transaction, so glue those two hashes glue together and it keeps on building and so on. It's like a puzzle that computers solve based upon computational power. So a puzzle is out there. Whoever solves that puzzle first is awarded the block, and the block results in Bitcoin. I will talk about something we call halving later on. But once that Bitcoin is awarded, okay, then typically they get 6. At this moment, they're getting 6 Bitcoins for completing one block in the transaction. And it's all done on nodes. Once upon a time, we could do it at home, sit there on the computer, and people across the planet Earth were out there going crank, 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 crank. And then people got to be so involved with it that really you started actually having people building entire factories of Bitcoin mining warehouses. And you'll see that actually on the cover slide, an actual picture, the image of the aspect of banks and banks of computers, where you eliminate everything else but the processor, and the processor is just a skinny box, and you have it really in a whole series of chains, and it becomes so powerful. People started using old abandoned power plants and reactivating them, putting crypto mining banks of computers in there and using the old power plants turn them back on and use all that power to run the mining aspect of it, to the point it got to be a pollution issue, it got to be a power issue, and Bitcoin really started sucking in so much physical energy in the aspect of electricity that it could actually power countries literally as to how much energy it was doing. So that's where you had a change from proof of work, which really is the core of Bitcoin, to proof of stake, which is really today the proof of the actual core of Ethereum and so on. And we'll talk about that. Work's required to receive the consensus. So proof of work, people verify it, and then boom, once the block is completed, people get Bitcoin, and that transaction shown with a hash in it really indicates this person's done it, and they're going to spend that, and so they'll be able to connect that with another hash in the process. You can see over here on the right hand side of your screen, you can see an actual bank of computers, and this is actually a Bitcoin mining operation in full gear. You see all the green lights, each one of those green lights represents a computer, except it's not the typical computer that we have sitting there with a keyboard and a nice little screen. It is strictly the processing mechanism as part of one of the banks, and you can pick them up. So they're actually, you can buy them on sale right now, relatively cheap out there. For you too can have your own little factory for a mere $120,000. So I don't know what the prices are, but with that, the aspect of mining is very controversial because of the raw CPU power drawing so much electricity that it really is using too much energy in the process. And that's been a concern really in the aspect of the pollution part, because people are now opening up older power generators, and some are coal-fired, and you have a lot of them, and you have an awful lot of money taking place in China, which doesn't have as much regulations on the pollution aspect of it as most parts of the other world that are actually having it, and you have so much money taking place there. Some people estimate it's up to 80% of all the Bitcoin is mined in China today, although that's shifting because of proof of stake. So the first part of the paper, it eliminates third-party payments. You have mass consensus, it all placed into a digital ledger. You have a system that prevents double spending. So the Byzantine general problem is eliminated. So you don't have people, bad actors, writing checks to two different entities in exactly the same amount. That eliminates that. The proof of work provides an incentive to create more Bitcoin through mining. And then also the transactions create a block, which is then attached to a chain. This is the beginning of the paper, and I'm going to finish the summary of this shortly. But I'm going to give you the flavor of the aspect of what Bitcoin originally starts with proof of work, with people mining over a type of algorithm and actually coming up with an answer and then being awarded Bitcoin as a reward for that, and having a huge spendable income with one Bitcoin once upon a time hitting $63,000, and even now in its poor poverty state, a mere $24,000, which is incredible for who knows how long it would take to solve a problem, anywhere from 5 minutes once upon a time all the way to 20 minutes now, or maybe even longer. Pretty good for an hour's work anyway. With that, we'll be back and finish off talking about the paper shortly. Take care.